guys. So we've run the car a couple times now. So the one thing I've always noticed is the oil pressure is high. And having a look at it, this is our old oil pressure gauge. It reads about 25 PSI. Obviously there's nothing hooked up to it. It's just a mechanical gauge. So I went ahead and bought a new one. It's just a 1.5 inch gauge. And you see it correctly reads 0 when there's no oil pressure, which is what it's supposed to do. So this should be pretty simple. I'm not gonna wire in this backlight for now. We're just gonna throw it in the car, hook up the same oil line that was running to it, and then we'll crank this thing and make sure that it works properly. The other thing is I went out and I got some of this. This is top lube for alcohol, methanol fuel, and I put 2 or 3 capfuls of it into the tank. There was like 2.5 gallons left in the tank. And this is supposed to help against corrosion and stuff. So thanks for recommending this in the comments, guys. As always, I appreciate, there's people that know way better than what I know as far as actually running these things and stuff. So I appreciate that. So we're gonna switch this oil pressure gauge out and then we'll run this thing and check the oil pressure. We're able to reuse the old oil line anyway. So literally all we're doing is swapping out the gauge. Some corrosion there, white kind of corrosion on the top electrode. Sure. $175. So because of the frame rate of the video right here, you couldn't see it perfectly well, but the test light was perfectly fine. So there was spark going in that cylinder. There was no spark plug. Wow. It's like an intermittent misfire. Well, now it's like getting up to 10 better. keeping the fan running here. It was misfiring really bad, and you guys saw that in the video. Now it seems to be running fine again. I'm not really sure. The cylinder 3 is still a little cold. I'm just wondering if it's just a fuel mix thing. There's a different like duty cycle for each cylinder for the fuel injectors, and that's causing the AFR per each cylinder to be different, and that's what we're seeing here. I don't know. The car has an appointment to get dynoed a week from today, and I'm hoping it just runs fine when we get there, but there's other things we need to work on in the meantime. So as far as the car goes, I'm gonna try and run it maybe once every other day and see if it picks up that misfire again, but we need to keep going. So, all right, gang. So it's time to change out the bearing in this bird cage. It's pretty simple. This is 3 pieces. You have the bird cage housing right here. You have this bearing that spins. And then connected to the inner race, this splined insert, that's a press fit as well. So we're gonna start by pressing out the this insert, splined insert. Then we'll push out the actual bearing. It's a sealed bearing. And then it should just be the reverse, doing it the other way. All right, that stood no chance of working. So we're just gonna move along. You might have noticed this is the filter cover for the injection. So I'm gonna put some fiberglass. I'm gonna lay some fiberglass over this and then press it down so that it can be, flat and a solid piece again. Something that I could have just bought a new cover, but I imagine in the future, I just want to have the knowledge of how to lay fiberglass. So we're just gonna kind of do it this way. So the key is to pull it taut. Hey, so it's now Monday. I basically came to the conclusion that there was no way I was gonna be able to change the bearing just with the tools I have here. And I didn't feel like buying a shop press. So my roommate, he works at the GMC dealership, like 5 minutes from here. He was kind enough to allow me to go up there and use their pressing this new bearing. I didn't record it because I didn't want to feel weird bringing a camera into a dealership with people working and stuff. But we were able to get this changed, so that's good. This cover was able to dry overnight. I'm not super happy with how the epoxy kind of stuck up here in the top, but I mean, it's firm, it's the correct shape now. So I'm gonna go ahead and kind of trim this to what we need, and then we'll kind of sand down the edges. All right, so I have wired up the back lights. They weren't wired up before for these lights. I left the battery gauge alone. I mean, it works, so I don't see any reason to change it, but I did change out the water gauge for a new water gauge. So a tip I learned on Speedway motors, and maybe if you guys haven't seen it, I'll share it with you too, is so for some of these gauges, you have like mechanical gauges, and you can't really change the length of this wire. Ideally, you just make it shorter, but it's like a thermocouple that's linked directly to this wire, so you can't shorten it. So what I did is I took just a socket extension, and you coil the wire up around this really tight. And the gauge of the wire is so thick that it keeps its shape really well, and you get this little coil that helps keep it up out of the way. So that helps clean it up a little bit. The wiring looks better than it did before, and everything, so that's good. Yeah, so anyway, guys, that's pretty much it for, I think, this video. It might be a little short, but I think we've done a decent amount of things. The bearing in the bird cage is now replaced. I'm sorry I have no video of that, but we've done some wiring, some gauge updates, and then as of right now, the thing's running on all 4 cylinders. So that's pretty much it. The next video is just gonna be cleaning up all the rod ends and putting the front and rear axles back on this thing, cleaning up the brakes, and it'll pretty much be a roller again. So that's what you'll see soon. It all has to be done pretty quick because we got to get this thing turned around and ready to go by Sunday to be on the dyno. I mean, I won't fit all the body work and stuff on it, but this thing pretty much has to be ready to go by then. So yeah, we'll get that done, and I'll see you there for it. So peace.